I've seen a lot of crazy anime in my life, but pairing two utterly disgusting high school teenagers in some sort of rubbish marriage training is just a whole different ballgame. Jiro and Watanabe are married. Yes, despite being 17 and stupid, their school just rolled out a new class called marriage training, and even though they don't like each other, they decide to pretend to be a perfectly married couple. Damn, I wish there was a class called clapping training because I'm down bad at the moment and I need an excuse to clap the 10 out of 10 baddies in my class without getting arrested. A pretty young lady tossed a coin and rang the bell. She put her palms together and obviously said a prayer. She's got lovely pink hair that blows with the wind. A clumsy, brown-haired girl trips and holds her by the waist. They seem to know each other. The pretty and beautifully meloned girl who is praying, her name is Akari Watanabe. She runs away embarrassed because she was seen by Shiori Sakurazaka, the clumsy brown-haired girl. Shiori just turns around and makes a wish. We hear a voiceover that says he would have never imagined that so many things would have happened between him and the two girls. I'm smiling deviously, rubbing my hands and biting my lip because I can just tell there will be so much clapping that we'd call it a round of applause. A very interesting marriage mock exam is about to kick start, but Jiro Yakuin and his best friend Kamo are more interested in video games. Kamo wonders why Jiro is stuck on pixel games, and as per Jiro's words, they allow his imagination run wild, but his imagination of the pixel wife is Shiori. Watana condescendingly tells Jiro and Kamo to get out of her way. Oh, I see, the little missy is a sassy diva, and that's why she felt embarrassed that Shiori saw her praying. She walks by them like they're trash, but immediately she sees Minami Tenjin, her crush. The hypocritical Barbie girl lights up like a Christmas tree and interacts with him in the sweetest way possible, shocking the two boys. The class bell rings and sighs. Jiro's pixel wife is gonna have to wait a little longer. The students are gearing up for the pair announcements. It's a simple mock exam. You're paired up with someone at random. A surveillance-insured room is given to the pretend couple for monitoring purposes, and they also have separate rooms that can only be accessed by the owner of the room through thumbprint. This sounds like a Dr. Diddy 2.0 situation if you ask me. God can't put me or my best friend in such a position. It'll be a clap festival all day. Coward incel Jiro wants to be paired with Shiori, his longtime friend and first love, but does not make that obvious to her because he's a shy bum. Shiori, on the other hand, would love to be paired with someone she knows and is comfortable talking to. The couples will have to score well in order to pass the practical that also contributes to their entire academic score for their final year. God, I'd score too well if there's A++, that'll be my score. But as the best of contractions go, coward Jiro was tied up with baddie Watana, and Watana's crush Minami was paired with Jiro's first love Shiori. On their first day, these two monkeys, Watana and Jiro, could not compose themselves. Their score dropped down to a -3. Watana Wanata is not a cool name for a lady that's so sweet. Let's call her Wadi. In my hood, they would call her Stephanie. They act like a lovely couple for about a second, and the negative score reduces to a -2. Now, if they could clap already, they would have a perfect score, but I guess the kid's eggplant is dysfunctional from all the vaping. She tells Jiro that the rulebook mentions that once a couple reaches the A grade rank, they will be allowed to change their partners. Jiro imagines all the crazy, embarrassing things he's about to be doing so he and Wadi could teach rank A. He decided to go get a drink, and Wadi tells him to get one for her. He was by the vending machine when his wood tumbled and his dreams almost broke. Upon seeing Shiori and Minami walk together, Jiro's dreams take a dive to the bottom of the ocean, and the goat head went back to his marriage apartment to sob. Wadi makes fun of Jiro for crying like a baby, but eventually tries to cheer him up. Jiro, with no other choice, agrees to get an A rank so they can change partners. Kamo arrives to call Jiro out. Wadi insists that he gets intimate and gives her a goodbye kiss before heading out with his friend. Jiro looks like he's about to explode. The stupid boy stands there indecisive for a second as she beckons on him to do what's right before he leaves. I don't know if this is part of the mock exam, but the stupid boy put away his cowardice for a second and he gave her an amazing lip-to-lip. No one said it was supposed to be on the lips. Jiro reminisced about the lip-to-lip and dreams about sharing another one. It's just episode 1, and these punks are already on their way to become certified clappers. She woke him and told him to help with the chores. 1 week passes by, and cowardice Jiro is at school when he sees Shiori and Minami walk to school together, and he breaks into a million pieces. The teacher tells Jiro that she wanted to meet him and his school wife. It's raining heavily, and Jiro didn't bring his umbrella. Kamo brought his umbrella, but Jiro won't share it with him because it's not always a nice experience. Let them just say it. It's gay to share an umbrella with your fellow man. Jiro meets his teacher by himself, and she tells him that he was performing very poorly on the practical. The teacher tells him that if Jiro and Wadi don't buckle up, they would not be allowed to graduate. Manami shows up with an umbrella to pick Shiori up. Wadi was outside feeling weird and waiting for Manami and Shiori to leave. After a few minutes, she shows up and picks her not-so-loving make-believe husband Jiro, and they share an umbrella. She scolds him for not taking Shiori out when he had the chance. The stupid but optimistic girl says they should gear up and do the best they can so that they can switch to the partners they want. I might also be stupid, but I've got a theory. What if this fake wife and pretend husband thingy was so that by the time they graduate, they'd get married? The system even has a way to make you work hard and switch to who you want. I mean, it's a theory in progress, but you start know what I'm saying, and to top it all off, these two monkeys don't know they're busy slowly falling in love. In their room, Wadi prepared a meal that even I didn't expect her to. She's trying hard to improve their score. She made a delicious omelet for dinner. She inscribed love on it before he tastes it. He loves it and offers to feed her. She hesitates, but he tells her he's embarrassed too, but he's putting an effort to make this work. Wadi takes the bite from his spoon. The two get close and are about to share another lip to lip. LOL, all this tension would just make the clapping worth it. Just clap already. Jiro gets distracted by a phone call. Both Jiro and Wadi are confused about the fact that their hearts were weirdly pounding after they almost share another lip to lip. Wadi wakes lover boy Jiro up from a dream where he was just about to share a lip to lip with his esteemed first love, Shiori. She is watching a horror movie. She asks him to stay the night with her as she was getting scared. A little scary leads to cuddly hugsy, which will then lead to a clapsy. Jiro is shocked at the request but agrees to do so in order to help his partner. Jiro and I are both wondering why Wadi was watching a scary movie, if she was so creeped out by it, or is this an elaborate plan? Wadi defends that she was only doing this to rack up their points, as her friend had told her that couples who watched horror films together scored well. Told you it was an elaborate plan. Since she is too scared, Jiro turns the TV off. Wadi surprises Jiro with matching pajamas for them to wear. Wadi begins changing into her pajamas right there in the living room and asks Jiro not to turn around to look at her. Can't be me though! Emma stamped those buns right into the back of my mind. Dump Jiro is shocked by all this. It's as if he's not even trying to get better grades for this stuff. He too starts changing into pajamas. Suddenly the power goes out. Wadi is properly clothed. She hugs Jiro and his hormones jingle out of place. Don't blame him, he's just a silly old virgin. I applaud him though. He holds his hormones in place and fixes his kind of trying to help the silly pretty girl who's not a damsel in distress and in his arms. I would savor the moment of feeling her melons, but this dweeb is something else. Jiro uses his mobile phone's torchlight, but Wadi stops him from looking at her because the little scaredy cat has been crying all this while. Wadi asks Jiro to sit close to her and tell her a story in order to distract her. Jiro begins narrating another horror story, and Wadi is all the more scared. Wadi lights up a candle in the room that Natsume gave her as she starts falling asleep to its sweet smell. Jiro hugs her and is alarmed by his own words when he calls Wadi cute. A week has already passed, the grades are out, and Jiro is so stunned, and so am I, because I thought these losers would have an F, but we learn that he and Wadi had jumped up from E to B grades. Wadi tells him that Manami and Shiori had gotten an E grade. This is bad for them because both sides of the couple that wants to switch must have A grades. Jiro starts worrying about Shiori and does not know why she scored so low, considering she was rather close to Manami. At school, Shiori tells Mei that she was not very comfortable with Manami. She wished to be paired up with a friend because she had trouble talking to strangers. Shiori explains that not being able to communicate with Manami was the reason for her poor score. Wadi makes a meal for Jiro. She sits in front of him and she asks what men really want. A popular question all the girls in the 12th century have been asking. I know what I want though, a good girl baddie, that's mine. Jiro jokes that he did not take Wadi to be the kind of girl that makes home-cooked meals. He tells her that guys like homemade food. If the food is sweet though, Wadi wants to impress Manami and asks Jiro to help her with her strategy. She will be giving a lunchbox to Manami and wants Jiro to be her food tester. That reminds me of a concubine's food taster, Mao Mao. Oh heavens, The anime apothecary is amazing. I haven't made any references till now. That's crazy. Jiro enjoys the amazing range of meals he gets to eat. This also has a wonderful effect on their score as they sometimes cook together. Jiro tastes the rolled omelet Wadi makes and states that he likes them to be sweeter. Wadi dismisses him, saying that these were not for him, but for Manami, so Jiro should just eat without complaining, and his opinions don't count. Kamo was all in and jealous of the amazing food Jiro gets to eat. I bet his Gayal is as plain and simple as the additional math. They were talking about Wadi. She pops out of nowhere like a bad pimple and demands to hear what they're talking about. Jiro mumbles and fumbles his way out of her interrogations. She sees that he is helpless and asks how the meal was. He mentions that they're good, but it'll be better if they were sweeter, so they begin to bicker in front of Kamo, who just sits there and entertains himself. Is everyone in class going to go along peacefully? Won't someone spar with their parents mid-class? Where's the sauce? Where's the ginger? The next morning, Baddie Wadi makes the final meal box for Manami and lets Jiro taste a piece of the rolled omelet. Wadi dresses up in one of her prettiest outfits, and Jiro thinks to himself how she had never done so for him. Is that jealousy I smell? And that's an example that if she likes you, she'll go the extra mile. LOL, what's an extra mile when she will cross the oceans for you and travel to the ends of the earth? Wadi is nervous, so she asks Jiro to give her a good luck lip to lip, but the goody two-shoes cow cannot, and when she presses for it and when he was about to, pretty Shiori, the buzzkill, came and ruined our moment of our lip to lip. She came around to share a box of apple pie with them. Shiori claims, using the word claims cause now I feel that she has hidden agendas, that she made excess sweets because Manami likes sweets. On hearing this, Wadi's heart plunged into a world of darkness and decided against giving her lunchbox to Manami. Shiori, on the other hand, hopes that Jiro enjoys the pie she made. Jiro has a fun time eating the meal Wadi had made for Manami and tries to cheer Wadi up. Honestly, she just got an expo and should act on it, not sob about like Spider-Man when his web finishes. Wadi seems to have given up because she just learned that Shiori was a much better cook than her. Jiro tries to cheer her up by asking her to try out other things to impress Manami. She feels terrible about herself, so Jiro tries to cheer her up by saying she has a killer figure, which she actually does, and it's the kind every guy dreams about. He mistakenly blurts out that he'd love to sleep with her, then starts panicking like he's just confessed to being a secret villain in an anime. Wadi straddles Jiro on the couch and asks if he's thought about doing it with her. Jiro's panicking like he's about to face a final boss. Wadi uses his hand to start taking off her blouse. Just then, Jiro gathers his courage like Naruto tapping into the Nine Tails and stops Wadi. He says clapping is something people should have with someone they love. He mentions that Wadi has Manami, and Wadi fires back that Jiro has Shiori. She decides it's time to stop pretending to be a married couple. Wadi spends most of her time with friends or in her room, while Jiro retreats into his own world playing video games like a hermit. When the results for the second week come out, Manami and Shiori have climbed the ranks with an A grade, while Wadi and Jiro are failing with an E grade. Wadi and her friends are chatting about their ranks and partners during gym class. Meanwhile, useless Jiro watches as both Shiori and Wadi swoon over Manami's basketball skills, like fangirls at a concert. Mako stirs the pot by telling Jiro a rumor that Manami said he'd never switch partners. Sachi, Wadi's girlfriend, shares this with Wadi. Kamo hints that at this rate, Manami and Shiori might end up getting married. Jiro imagines a Konosuba-style showdown between himself and Manami, where he ends up losing both Wadi and Shiori while Manami stands victorious, posing like All Might. Wadi was punished for talking during the game and had to store the mats. When a box of sports gear almost falls on her, Manami saves her, making her heart pound like she's in a shoujo manga. She asks Manami if he plans to stay with Shiori forever, and he says yes, making Wadi cry. When Manami sees her crying, Wadi lies that she got something in her eye. Manami helps her, and Kamo sees them and misinterprets the situation. After gym class, Shiori talks to Jiro about their ranks, saying she might switch partners if Jiro also gets an A rank. They didn't say it directly, they just muttered words like two stammerers. Just as he's about to respond, Kamo rushes in, saying he has information that the FBI would kill to have. Manami and Wadi appear behind Kamo, and the situation gets tense with Shiori watching. Manami leads Shiori back to class, and Wadi walks past Jiro without saying a word. In class, Kamo tells Jiro about the kiss breaking Jiro's heart, but he pretends it doesn't bother him. Jiro goes home and tries to congratulate Wadi on kissing Manami. She clarifies the incident, and Jiro feels embarrassed about his jealousy. Wadi mocks Jiro, but eventually she starts crying about Manami's commitment to Shiori. Seeing her cry, Jiro hugs her to calm her down. Wadi cries her heart out. That evening, Jiro regrets not knowing what to do when a girl cries, but Wadi seems different, calling him by his first name and wearing one of his t-shirts after showering. Wadi sits close to him and reveals he's the first person she kissed and that she's a virgin. This bombshell shocks Jiro so much he freezes, despite being happy about the revelation, feeling like he just found out he's the chosen one in a fantasy anime. Jiro left for school earlier than usual, and Wadi came out to wish him and straightened his crooked tie before hugging him goodbye. Jiro wished Wadi would do these things willingly instead of just acting for the practical. The lowly virgin stood there and admired her. He was lucky. He knew. He ogled at her melons a bit and she caught him. When he arrived at class, he saw Shiori was already there. Shiori mentioned she was filling in for Mei and would be Wadi's partner for the task. Shiori had confessed her feelings for Jiro to Mei, who offered to switch duties. Jiro was thrilled to be paired with Shiori for something at least. Meanwhile, in the cafeteria, Wadi's friends teased her about being head over heels for Jiro. In class, Jiro had a hard time holding a conversation with Shiori without turning as red as a tomato. Just then, Wadi saw Jiro and Shiori in the classroom and noticed how happy Jiro seemed. Shiori chickened out of confessing her feelings. She planned on using a kiss, and Jiro regretted not having the guts to tell Shiori he liked her back in elementary school. But what if it went south and they stopped talking, he thought to himself. The next day, the teacher informed the class about a special test where individual scores would be combined with their partners, meaning couples had to study together. Jiro was worried about Wadi killing him because his grades were below average. He realized he had never seen Wadi study. The baddie didn't like to study and was least interested in academics and told him she was going to the karaoke bar with her friends. Jiro forced Wadi to ditch her plans and study with him. After much pleading, she agreed. Jiro tried to get Wadi to focus on studying, but nothing seemed to work. Wadi thought Jiro wanted to score well to switch partners, but he was actually looking out for both of them. Wadi teased Jiro and started flirting, but Jiro managed to get her to solve a math problem. Wadi was excited about learning to solve the problem and started calling Jiro sensei, asking if that made his heart race. Jiro, awkward as ever, claimed he didn't mind the title. Wadi wanted to one-up Jiro and started hugging him. Things got out of hand and Jiro ended up straddling Wadi on the couch. Jiro lost control. Looking down at her, she tried to let him let go, but hormone-peaked Mofo was already out of this world. He began to pull in for a lip-to-lip. Wadi noticed Jiro had a nosebleed classic anime style. Later, Jiro told Wadi he was so adamant about scoring well because he wasn't as smart as the other students and didn't want to hold her back from being paired with Manami. But Wadi thought about how she didn't want things to change between her and Jiro. During their usual morning routine, Wadi starts calling Jiro by his last name again. Although she seems elated in spirit, mentioning that Sachi gave her chocolates for them to share later, Jiro's spidey senses are tingling. He's worried their relationship has hit the filler episode phase. Camo catches Jiro googling what it means when your girl starts calling you by your last name. Mi hurries to check, and they bond over their mutual confusion, wishing their wives were more like straightforward anime protagonists instead of cryptic puzzle games. Just then, they witness a girl getting rejected by Mei after confessing her feelings. Mei apologizes and consoles the girl, even calling her by her first name. At home, Wadi excitedly announces they've reached A rank in the latest report, drying Jiro's hair like he's a Pokemon she just caught. But Jiro's still stuck on her using his last name. Inspired by Mei's earlier move, Jiro calls Wadi by her first name. She's initially embarrassed but lights up like a Super Saiyan, telling him to keep it up because she enjoys their pretend marriage. Later, Mei expresses her disappointment to Shiori for failing to level up her relationship with Jiro. A stray soccer ball knocks Shiori out, sending her to the infirmary. Mei, smelling an opportunity like Master Roshi at a swimsuit competition, tells Jiro to visit Shiori with a drink and a sandwich. During his visit, they awkwardly discuss the practical marriage, leading Shiori to ask Jiro for a practice kiss. As they debate this boss-level challenge, Sachi walks in, hears squeaky bed noises, and nopes out, thinking two couples were clapping themselves out. Shiori and Jiro accidentally kiss, leaving Jiro more flustered than a harem anime protagonist. Meanwhile, Wadi, waiting for Jiro's text, grows worried when Sachi tells her about the infirmary clappers. Jiro finally texts her, admitting he visited Shiori in the infirmary. Wadi, now convinced by Jiro and Shiori, had a wonderful round of applause. Avoiding home, Wadi ends up at the coffee shop where Manami works, returning home late to find Jiro passed out on the sofa. Turns out, the chocolates from Sachi had alcohol. Seeing the mugs on the table, Wadi realizes Jiro waited to share the chocolates. Feeling guilty, she does the deed and lies next to him, pleading with the unconscious Jiro to wait before going all the way with Shiori. The next morning, Jiro wakes up to find Wadi half-blessed beside him. With no memory of the night before, Wadi seizes the chance to mess with him, claiming that he clapped the heavens out of her. Jiro, as shocked as if he'd just found out he's the chosen one in an isekai, asks if he's no longer a virgin. Wadi, realizing Jiro never slept with Shiori, drops the act and admits she was lying. Jiro and Kamo are chilling on the school's rooftop, munching on lunch and smashing buttons on their game consoles. Kamo gives Jiro the side eye and asks if something went down with Wadi since Jiro's been hiding up here like a ninja on a secret mission. Jiro, too embarrassed to admit he crashed on the couch with Wadi next to him, just mumbles that nothing happened. Meanwhile, Shiori's out in the yard struggling with a mountain of trash bags because the school put her on garbage duty. Sachi and Natsumi spot her and jump in to help, but they're still one hand short. Sachi spots Jiro and Kamo and yells at them to pitch in. Kamo's all in, but Jiro freezes when he sees Shiori, both of them more awkward than a harem protagonist on his first date. Sachi tries to pair Jiro and Shiori, but Shiori's like, in a sassy voice, "No thank you," and quickly switches partners, leaving Jiro feeling like a side character in his own story. Later, Sachi and Natsumi sit with Wadi, munching on snacks and trying to get serious. They play rock, paper, scissors to decide who asks the awkward question. Sachi loses and bluntly asks Wadi how she really feels about Jiro. Wadi hesitates, but her silence speaks volumes. Natsumi chimes in, pointing out Wadi's lack of Minami fangirling lately. Wadi admits Minami and Shiori seem to be getting closer, making her feel like she's in the way. Sachi tries to reassure her, saying it's all just part of the practical. At the festival, Wadi meets up with Sachi and Natsumi, who tell her Minami will join them soon. Wadi feels everyone's effort to help her and decides to give it her best shot. But when Minami doesn't show up, Sachi finds out he has to work unexpectedly. Disappointed, Wadi tries to stay positive. Sachi and Natsumi encourage her, but Wadi's heart isn't in it. She excuses herself, feeling down about the whole situation. Later, as she wanders alone, Wadi sees Minami with Shiori and feels her heart sink. Meanwhile, Natsumi and Sachi return with sweets. Noticing Wadi's gloomy mood, Wadi pretends it's the tight yukata bothering her. They suggest she head home, and Wadi reluctantly agrees, feeling like Goku when he misses a meal. Back at the dorm, Jiro's on the balcony, lost in thought about Wadi and Minami. He gets a call from Wadi, who's crying uncontrollably. Jiro rushes to find her, discovering her in the hallway outside their dorm, sobbing. He comforts her and they end up on the balcony watching the fireworks together. Wadi asks Jiro how she looks in the yukata and he reassures her. She guides his hands to tie her OB again, feeling comforted by his presence. As the fireworks light up the sky, Wadi thanks Jiro for not prying into her bad day. Jiro, relieved she's back, realizes how much he cares for her. They agree that supporting each other is what couples do, even if their relationship is complicated. As they watch the explosions, Jiro thinks about how this might be their last time together like this, holding onto the moment tightly. In the dim light of her room, Shiori cuddles her teddy bear like it's the only thing keeping her grounded. She's stuck in a loop of overthinking, wondering why she and Jiro haven't spoken since their dramatic lip-to-lip. She's trapped in a never-ending episode of a soap opera with a cliffhanger. Meanwhile, Mei is taking a bath, contemplating the state of her life with the seriousness of a Dragon Ball Z character about to face a new enemy. She's also worried about whether things will stay this way. Over in his room, Jiro is busy battling the forces of evil in his handheld game, deciding which princess to take on a quest to save the world. No pressure, right? It's like he's the hero of his own anime, but instead of saving the world, he's saving his high score. Wadi, on the other hand, is scrolling through her fortune on her phone. She's looking pretty bummed out. Wadi and Jiro are in the living room gearing up for their practical evaluation like they're preparing for the final boss fight. When they check the rankings, they find themselves in 13th place, 3 spots below the coveted A rank. Jiro points out that the couple in 5th place just started dating, which makes Wadi think their chances of beating them are about as good as a Naruto character successfully using a Rasengan on the first try. But Wadi's not letting that get her down. She pumps Jiro up with a pep talk and a cute nickname. Later, Jiro is in the bath, lost in thoughts of that night when Wadi came home crying. He's worried that Wadi is still determined to switch partners despite their emotional moment. Just then, Wadi bursts in like she's charging into battle, screaming about a spider in the living room. Sarcastically, Jiro is like, "Seriously? A spider?" But Wadi is in full-on panic mode, dragging him out of the bath and demanding he help her deal with the arachnid invader. As they enter the living room, Jiro asks where the spider is. Wadi's clinging to him, her panic escalating because she can't find the spider. Jiro is baffled to learn it's just a tiny spider. "I've been there. I was so disappointed I felt it was an 8-foot spider when the foolish girl called me." Wadi decides she's not leaving Jiro's side while the spider is still out there and heads to the kitchen for a snack, dragging him along. Jiro starts to find her over-the-top reactions more amusing than annoying. They end up sitting on the couch, snacking and chilling. Wadi pulls out her manicure kit, planning to beautify her nails. Jiro is trapped in the living room until he catches the spider according to Wadi's rules. Jiro suggests he could go back to his room and come when she calls. Wadi insists she needs him there so she's not alone if the spider reappears. Their conversation takes a weird turn when Wadi asks Jiro to accompany her to the bathroom, which makes Jiro look like he's just been hit with a giant rock from a Pokemon game. When Wadi finishes in the bathroom, Jiro seizes the chance to use it too. Wadi is embarrassed by her odd request, but also feels glad she could ask Jiro for this silly favor. She's thinking she wouldn't dare ask Manami for this kind of favor. When Jiro finishes, he helps Wadi back to the living room, making sure he washed his hands first. Wadi thanks him, happy to have him by her side. Kamo ropes Jiro into a live-in summer job at his brother's new beach cafe. At first, Jiro said he doesn't want anything to do with that god-forsaken place, but when Shiori drops the bomb that she and Mei are also applying, Jiro's brain goes into full anime protagonist mode, and he's like, "Count me in!" Back home, Wadi is flaunting her new bikini like she's auditioning for My Dress Up Darling. Jiro's face goes redder than Natsu from Fairy Tail after scarfing down spicy food, and he awkwardly mutters about how it shows too much skin. Wadi, channeling her inner teasing senpai, mocks him for acting like her boyfriend before promising to wear something else. Battling his inner perv and Wadi's teasing, Jiro spills the beans about his summer job, only to find out that Wadi, Natsumi, and Sachi are also on the job roster. Rom-com animes, and everyone ends up in the same place by sheer coincidence. With all the effort this girl is putting in this blind Bartimaeus, when they arrive, they're greeted by Kamo's older brother and his team, including the ever-charming Manami and the super-serious Terafune. Manami gives them a tour, and then they dive into training. Jiro, feeling more like a background character in a sports anime, opts for kitchen duty. This sparks Shiori to join him, with Mei and Kamo tagging along too. Meanwhile, Wadi, Sachi, and Natsumi get schooled in customer service by Manami and Terafune. Wadi is all googly-eyed over Manami, while Sachi and Natsumi love poking fun at Terafune, who's got a major crush on Wadi. In the kitchen, Mei goes full Cupid mode, nudging Shiori to get closer to Jiro. During drink-making practice, Jiro accidentally turns the whipped cream nozzle into a weapon and sprays Shiori. A freak accident, actually. They end up in an awkward but cute moment, cleaning off the cream and flirting. Of course, Natsumi and Sachi catch them in the act, and the blushing ensues. After training, they hit the beach, and Kamo, channeling his inner master Roshi from Dragon Ball, makes some pretty sketchy comments about the girls' swimsuits. Shiori, in her usual oblivious manner, suggests they all hit up a nearby hotel. Mei, Shiori, Kamo, and Jiro are busy building a sandcastle near the beach, right in front of that hotel Shiori pointed out earlier. Jiro, hoping for some romantic action, is left disappointed. Kamo channels his inner TMNT, uses the moment to ogle the girls, while Shiori, in her classic clueless way, teases Jiro by touching his hand as they make a tunnel under the sandcastle. Soon, Jiro and Wadi are sent on a lunch mission to a nearby store. Two guys start hitting on Wadi, and Jiro, feeling as heroic as Krillin in a fight, is at a loss. But then he musters his courage and drags him and says, "We're married!" Wadi plays along, and they manage to escape. Jiro apologizes awkwardly, but Wadi, annoyed, scolds him for ruining her knight in shining armor moment with his apology. Later in the bathhouse, Wadi, Sachi, Natsumi, Mei, and Shiori have a heart-to-heart about wishing their partners were kinder. Shiori feels like the odd one out until Wadi comforts her, and they both start thinking about Jiro. When Wadi steps out of the bathhouse, she bumps into Jiro and offers to rub cream on his sunburn. Jiro, feeling as awkward as Shinji in Evangelion, says they shouldn't get too close or people might get the wrong idea. This annoys Wadi, who walks away only to text Jiro to meet her at the beach shack in 10 minutes. At the shack, Jiro apologizes again, but Wadi tells him off for apologizing too much and not being more confident. She vents her frustration about how he always acts cold and makes her feel bad, even though she's happy to be with him. Their argument gets interrupted when they hear Shiori and Mei approaching, forcing them to hide. They start bickering in their hiding spot, making thudding noises that scare Shiori and Mei away. For this part, she specially put on a very revealing bikini and shoves her melons in Jiro's face. He always looks at her at home but keeps his eyes off her when outdoors, and this pisses her off. Jiro, feeling the effects of the sun, collapses from a mild heat stroke. While Jiro and Shiori struggle to sleep after their respective nighttime encounters, their morning awkwardness eventually cheers them up. At work, Shiori nervously tells Jiro about her spooky encounter at the beach shack and wonders how she'll handle the test of courage event later that night. She accidentally hints that she'd feel better if paired with Jiro, leading to an awkward moment before she escapes to take out the trash. Eavesdropping nearby, Kamo jumps in and offers to help Jiro get paired with Shiori. Being a good guy, Jiro asks Kamo to help Wadi pair up with Minami instead. With Mei's help, the plan works and the pairs are set. Jiro and Shiori feel the awkward tension while Wadi is over the moon. However, during the event, Wadi starts feeling unsure about her feelings for Minami. She tries to check on the others using her phone, but realizes it's missing. As the other pairs finish first, Jiro and Shiori are stuck with Shiori's constant panicking. They grow worried when Wadi and Minami haven't returned. Minami calls to say they got separated while looking for Wadi's phone. It starts raining and Jiro, despite everyone's assurances, decides to search for Wadi in the rain. Meanwhile, Wadi is squatting alone in despair, calling out Jiro's name reflexively when Minami finds her. Jiro eventually finds Wadi's phone, with Shiori running to him with umbrellas. Wadi awkwardly tries to explain her feelings to a Minami. Minami admits he's known about her crush for a while, but gently rejects her, revealing he's in love with someone from his past, not Shiori. Feeling a mix of sadness and relief, Wadi assures Minami her feelings for him were genuine, and Minami hopes things work out between her and Jiro. Meanwhile, Shiori clears up any confusion about her and Minami to Jiro. They talk about their lip-to-lip and how confused and bewildered their feelings are, especially since the marriage practical started. Shiori admits she feels lonely and fears that being childhood friends won't be enough to keep them together, especially with Wadi in the picture. They embrace in the rain and share a deep, consensual lip-to-lip. Wadi's on a mission at the shrine where she once prayed to be paired with Minami for the marriage practical. She's holding a 500 yen coin, but then thinks, why not go big or go home? And chucks a 1,000 yen note into the well as she prays. She's basically apologizing to the gods for the plot twist in her love life. Flashback time. After the test of courage, Wadi overheard Kamo spilling the tea to Mei about some mysterious drama between Jiro and Shiori. Wadi prays, knowing that her chances with Jiro are as slim as a Saitama workout routine, but she's ready to give it her all. Meanwhile, Shiori's in laundry mode at her dorm, clutching her floral pattern dress from the kiss she shared with Jiro. She's basically reliving a romantic drama and thinking she just committed a K-drama level affair. She's regretting the kiss, feeling like she's doing something sneaky behind Wadi's back. Shiori's practically smelling her dress and dreaming about Jiro like he's a limited edition figure she missed out on. Cut to Jiro at home, gaming away like a hero of his own RPG. He's stuck on thinking about that kiss with Shiori. Flashback to post-kiss. Shiori apologized, suggested they return to the group, and Jiro was left wondering if he should level up his relationship status or stay in the friend zone. Overwhelmed by confusion, he decides to take a break and heads out to grab some soda, chips, and manga. At the store, Jiro's browsing the manga section when he spots the latest issue of his favorite series. Just as he reaches for it, someone else's hand overlaps his. Surprise. It's Shiori. They both look like they've just stumbled into an anime crossover episode. The awkwardness is palpable, but things start to smooth out when Jiro asks if Shiori's into manga. Turns out she's buying it for her little brother Kenta. Jiro's pumped to learn that Shiori's been talking about him. Shiori offers Jiro the last copy, but he declines, saying he'll find another one. Shiori's impressed by his politeness, and Jiro's relieved they're back to normal-ish. Jiro settles into the living room and Shiori offers him coffee. It's the same as his dorm, so it feels like he's in a parallel universe. When Jiro comments on a nice smell, Shiori's heart skips a beat before he clarifies it's just the coffee. They're sitting on the couch, reading in a cute, awkward silence. Jiro's trying to focus on his manga, but keeps stealing glances at Shiori, who's catching him in the act. She asks if he's noticed something weird about her, and Jiro stammers that he's just curious about her book. Shiori excuses herself to her bedroom. Shiori checks herself in the mirror, worrying that things might be going south with Jiro. Is she too pushy? Is he bored? Meanwhile, Jiro's having a mini existential crisis, wondering if he should be making a move or just stick to the best friend level. As Shiori reappears, excitedly dragging Jiro to the balcony, the two marvel at a double rainbow like they're in a magical girl anime. Back at his place, Jiro's gaming away when his phone buzzes like it's a summon from a gacha game. He's shocked to find it's Wadi texting him saying she's bored and wants to hang out. Jiro's confused but intrigued, thinking it might be a prank. Still, he agrees to meet her, thinking it could be worth it. When Jiro arrives at Saishun Station early, he waits, only to be stood up, or so he thinks. Just as he's about to leave, Wadi shows up, out of breath, apologizing for being late and leaving her phone behind. They hang out in different places, then all of a sudden Wadi says she wants to run off to a shrine. She sprints away and Jiro follows her. They run into Shiori and the two girls decide to race to the shrine. They encounter an elderly couple and laugh at the fact that the man's name is Jiro. Jiro arrives and they all offer prayers.